والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. Ask Allah to make this a beneficial sitting for us all, and that we can take many lessons and benefits from one of the pillars of our Iman. Allah has sent to every single nation, to mankind from the very beginning until the very last of them, prophets and messengers as a source of guidance for us, to remove shirk, to get us closer to Him, teach us how to get close to Him, how to be guided and end up in the path of Jannah. And this is the greatest mercy after the creation of your creation from your Creator, is that He sent you these prophets with these books. Imagine if you didn't have that. Imagine how lost we would be, misguided. And one of those prophets that Allah sent was Musa alayhi salam. Allah says about Musa, وَإِذَا أَتَيْنَا مُوسَى الْكِتَابَ وَالْفُرْقَانَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَهْتَدُونَ. Allah gave Musa a book, and He gave him the criterion so that we'll be guided. This is to Bani Israel. But if we look at the message of Musa and what Musa came with, we will see that not only was he a messenger that came with Tawheed, not was he a messenger that Allah loved a lot, but he directly impacted this ummah, even though he came thousands of years before the Prophet ﷺ. And he was also a man that was very close to Allah, and Allah had a lot of reverence and love for him. And these 2 points can be found in one incident in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Well-known incident when he went up to the heavens in Isra. He met the different Anbiya in different levels. And the ulama have said that he met a Nabi in the first level and a Nabi in the second level, not because of their status. It doesn't mean that one Nabi is better than the other because he was in a higher level of Jannah when he met the Prophet ﷺ. But it's because what Allah decreed. And some of the ulama have given a reason for why he met a different Nabi in every level, and which Nabi he met for that purpose. Ibn Hajar says in Fath al-Bari, the first person that he met on the first level of Jannah was Adam. Why did he meet Adam? Because Adam is his father. Before you meet anybody else, you respect your elder. You go to the father. And his father greeted him into Jannah. This is the hikmah. The second level he went up and he met Yusuf. The hikmah behind meeting Yusuf in the second level is because there's another hadith which explains this. The Prophet ﷺ said that everybody will enter Jannah ala surati Yusuf alayhi salam, the shakl, of the appearance of Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf was extremely beautiful. It's as if all of the beauty or half of the beauty of Allah's creation was placed in this one man. And the Prophet ﷺ signified this, that everybody who will enter Jannah will be as if they are beautiful as Yusuf. Obviously there's no comparison between the beauty of the dunya and the Jannah, but the emphasis is there. On the third level he met Isa and Yahya. Why did he meet Isa and Yahya? Some of the ulama, as Ibn Hajar says in Fath al-Bari, is because he was the closest Nabi. He was the closest Nabi. And he was the one that came before him. And his Sharia resembled the Sharia of ours the most. Then he met Idris, and it's a full right that he meets Idris when he goes up to the Isra, because Allah says in the Quran, وَرَفَعْنَاهُ مَكَانًا عَلِيًّا. Allah raised it, Idris, to a level station, a high level of station. To signify this even more, he met him in Isra. Then he met Harun, then he met Musa. Harun in the 5th Jannah, level of Jannah, then Musa in the 6th level of Jannah. And the ulama have said that the reason why he met Harun and Musa, as he was getting closer to Allah, because of the ahkam in the Sharia of Harun and Musa, resembled the Sharia of Muhammad the closest, alayhi salam. This was mentioned by Qurtubi and brought by Ibn Hajar in Fath al-Bari. Then he met the father of Tawheed on the 7th level. Who was that? Ibrahim alayhi salam, his father. And the ulama have said that the reason why Ibrahim was the father is because after Adam was the first man, he's the father of all progeny, of all human. We are his progeny. After Adam alayhi salam came Nuh, after Shaykh Nuh. The people of Nuh disbelieved in him. So Allah destroyed everybody. So he was the semi-father, if you like. Because after Nuh, there was no other human. He was the one who recreated or reproduced humanity again. And then there's another father that the ulama have said, who is Ibrahim. And through Ibrahim came all of these messengers that I've just mentioned, besides Adam. So he is the father of Tawheed, and he is the one of the Imam of all the Anbiya that came after him. And that's why he met him in the 7th station. But how did Musa benefit? This is the point that we were making before. Allah guided Musa and he benefited this. How did he benefit this ummah? We all know the Prophet ﷺ went up to Allah and he met Allah, and Allah gave him 3 things directly. And one of those things that he gave him was the 5 salawat, or the 50 salawat. He went back to Musa, and Musa said, your ummah, me and you, we will not be able to do this. Go back for the sake of me and you, and ask Allah to reduce it. Until it was reduced to 5. Musa was a man of great hikmah and guidance. And he benefited this ummah. But the story doesn't stop there. After the Prophet ﷺ went away from Isra, Musa started to cry in Jannah. Could you imagine a man? He's in Jannah and he's crying. Is that possible? He's passed the test. He's close to Allah. He's guaranteed Jannah in the hereafter. But he's crying. Musa alayhi salam was asked, why are you crying? قال لأن الغلام. And he called the Prophet ﷺ a ghulam. Now ghulam refers to a small boy. Maybe there's a benefit from that boy, because they used to call people who used to serve them as boys as ghulam. Because his benefit, we respect him even though he's of a young age. The ulama said that Musa called Prophet ﷺ ghulam for one of 2 reasons. Either because his ummah is going to be a shorter lifespan than my ummah, but they are still going to be better than my ummah. That's why he was crying. Bani Israel used to live for a very, very long time. There's one woman, there's a hadith I'm sure you're aware of. When she heard the lifespan of this ummah, 60, 70 years, she became astonished. And she said, if I was to live for 60, 70 years, I'll spend my whole 60, 70 years in sujood. 60, 70 years in worship. It was nothing for her. And the ulama have also said, Tafsir Laylatul Qadr, Surah Laylatul Qadr, why are we given one night which is equivalent to 82 years or 83 years? 1,000 months. What is the reason? Some of the ulama said in Tafsir that Bani Israel, when they used to go out and do acts of worship, they used to go out on expeditions, they used to leave their house and come back, and they used to take 1,000 years. They used to wear their armor, they used to go out and worship Allah for 1,000 years, and that was just one journey for them, and they used to come home. So that's why this ummah has been given a lot of benefit, and that's why he was crying. Their lifespan is short, but their reward is multiplied. Another reason why the ulama said that he called him a ghulam, because he was more energetic than him. Musa felt as if he's going to be overtaken by this ghulam. So he said, لأنه غلام بعث بعدي, he's been sent after me, يدخل الجنة من أمتي أكثر مما يدخلها من أمتي. More of his ummah will enter Jannah than mine. This is the 3rd reason why the ulama said that he was crying, is that he was jealous for the sake of Allah. He knew that this ummah, me and you, are more virtuous, and we're going to be plentiful in Jannah. So this is a glad tidings for us all. And the reason why we are studying the life of Musa alayhi salam is not that we have a story, nice story, we go home, yes, Fir'aun got destroyed, and this happened, that happened. There are parallels, there are striking parallels between the ummah and the message of Musa and his life and his ummah here. And one of them, which is well known to us all, is that the Prophet and all the Anbiya came with the message of Tawheed, to worship Allah alone. There's a difference between the Creator and the creation. The Creator doesn't mix inside the creation, therefore we worship Him. He's the originator the creator. Everything else is the creation. If there's only one creator, he is the one who is worthy of our worship. Simple. And this is the message of Musa, this is the message of Muhammad, this is the message of all the Anbiya and Rasul. And this is why when the message got to Najashi in Ethiopia, what did he say? He picked up a stick and he said, "Inna hada walladhi ja'a bihi Musa liyakhruj min mishkatin wahid." And this message that Musa alayhi salam came with, the message of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam came from the same source as Musa's. There's no difference. They're both calling to the unification, Tawheed of Allah. A difference between the creator and creation. He has no son, he has no mother, he's not an idol. And Waraq ibn Nawfal also was a man, when he became a prophet, they went to him with Khadija, the cousin of Khadija, and he was a man from Ahl Kitab, who was well versed in the books of the New and the Old Testament. And he said immediately, what you have been given, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق هذا هو الناموس الذي كان يأتي موسى. This is the namus, this is the angel that used to come to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that used to come to Musa, and he's coming to you now, Muhammad alayhi salam. It's the message of Tawheed. The people of that time knew it, and they accepted it. But also, the parallel of the message of Musa and the message of Muhammad alayhi salam and our ummahs is that we are all united. There is no difference. We don't say, this is the ummah of Musa, this is the ummah of Isa. We're all brothers. And Allah says in the Quran that before He sent the Anbiya and He presented their souls, وَإِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ النَّبِيِّينَ, Allah took a mithaq, He took a contract with all the Anbiya. لَمَّا أَتَيْتُكُم مِّن كِتَابٍ وَحِكْمَةٍ. When a book comes to you, you are going to be placed in the dunya. When a book comes to you, kitab wa hikmah, your sunnah, your legislation will come to you as well. ثُمَّ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا مَعَكُمْ. Then after you pass away, another Nabi will come, another messenger will come. لَتُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ وَلَتَنْصُرَنَّ. You have to support one another. So our chain goes back to Isa, Isa to Musa, Musa to Ibrahim, and so forth. We are all united. And when we leave the message of Musa and Isa and Muhammad alayhi salam, this is when humanity becomes destroyed. We destroy ourselves because of the disunity and the stubbornness we find as human beings. Another parallel that we can find from the message of Musa and Muhammad alayhi salam is that they have the same pillars as us. Salat, Zakat, fasting, Ashura, and it's also been narrated that Musa alayhi salam performed the Hajj. Allah says in the Quran, وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. We told Bani Israel, لَا تَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Don't worship except Allah. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Be good to your parents. Again, these two messages found in the Quran over again. وَذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَمَسَاكِينَ. Again, be good to poor, be good to those orphans, be good to those who need your help. Again, the same message. وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. Say something good. Don't be arrogant, display good manners. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ. Allah told Bani Israel, establish the salah as a pillar. وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ ثُمَّ تَوَلَّيْتُمْ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ مِّنكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. Now this is a message for us, the Ummah Muhammad. They were given these pillars, but then afterwards Allah rebuked them. You turned away from them. We told you to have Tawheed, you turned away from it. We told you to be good to your parents, you turned away from it. It's been narrated that some Bani Israel didn't even shy away from killing their own parents. Be good to other people. Be good to the poor, be good to the needy. They stopped that as well. And so forth. They left the salah, they left their books, they distorted their books, they left the zakat. There's another parallel as well, which is that the ummah of Musa alayhi salam, after the coming of Musa alayhi salam and the giving of Torah, Allah had decreed from that moment on, no nation will be destroyed in one go. The people of Nuh, destroyed. Lut, destroyed. Ad and Thamud, and so forth. Musa alayhi salam, besides Fir'aun, nobody else was destroyed from his ummah in one go. Allah decreed from that moment on, as Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, that we will have warfare, and man will punish man from that moment on. So this is a parallel. Also, we have stages within Islam, which is known as the Meccan period and the Madani period. period of weakness and oppression, and also a period where we have established a state. And this is exactly what happened with Musa alayhi salam. Under Fir'aun, the Meccan period. They were weak, they were overcome, and then after they migrated, they had their own settlements. And this is when their ummah began to split. You had those people who believed, those people who outright disbelieved after Musa, or even at the time of Musa, as we shall see, and those people who claimed to believe but they had nifaq in them. And this is exactly what happened in the Madani period of the Prophet ﷺ. And the last one, I mean, there are more parables and there are more parallels, but the last one that I want to mention here is that the people of Musa were destroyed as a ummah, left to be misguided because of their level of disobedience to their prophet, and they're not clinging on to their book. And this is why Musa alayhi salam, when he was told the story of the cow, and they started arguing with him, he said, "A'udhu billahi an akuna min al-jahilin." I seek refuge in Allah that I be ignorant in the message of Allah, in the book of Allah, in the commandments of Allah. This was his response to them. And Ibn Abbas in tafsir of this ayah, because they left the practicing of their religion, things became more difficult for them. Now, if we look at the description of the Quran, if you look at the description of the Torah, it's quite interesting, and Ibn Rajab brings a very interesting comparison as to how Allah describes the Quran and how Allah describes the Torah, even though they're both of the words of Allah. But the Quran has been described as nur. And the reason why it is nur is because it is soft, it is pleasant, it is merciful, it's easy to follow. If you follow it, you'll have guidance in your life. You will feel it. Your heart and your iman will accept it. Your soul will accept it easily. This is what Allah says in the Quran. فَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ نُورًا وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ. Allah has sent to you a book which is nur, and a clear in its evidences, so clear and easy, simple to follow. Allah described it as nur. Well, how does Allah describe the Torah? And this is what Ibn Rajab is saying, is that Allah described the Torah as being diya. And there's a difference between, in the Arabic language, between nur and diya. Both of them refer to light, a light from Allah, guidance. But nur is soft. But diya is hard. The light is strong and it's burning. It's a very hard and relentless form of light. And this is what happened to them, because they diverted. The nur that they received from Allah wasn't easy for them to follow. So Allah says in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ أَتَيْنَا مُوسَى وَهَارُونَ. We have given Musa and Harun furqan, criterion between right and wrong, وَضِيَا. But their book, because of their stubbornness, became hard. Now, we know after the message of Prophet ﷺ and his passing, and the Quran has been completed, the religion is complete. So this will not happen again. But individually, as individuals, as societies, as communities, as households, and maybe even the ummah as a whole, we can possibly, it is very possible that we go through the same cycle that happened with Musa and his people. Things become difficult. Nifaq and kufr come into in our communities. Parts of the ummah become destroyed, but not all of us. We become disunited. This is what happened to Musa. And this is what Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, said, is as if the whole of the Quran is talking about Musa. Because the story of Musa from the very beginning to the end is so comprehensive that every single one of us can take a benefit from any part of our lives from it. If you're talking about seeking knowledge, Musa and Khidr. If you're talking about wealth, Musa and Qarun. If you're talking about government and people who was in authority and oppression, Musa and Fir'aun. There's no aspect of Musa's seerah except that it is relevant, and it will continue to be relevant. And that's why the whole Quran, almost, as Ibn Taymiyyah said, is about the qissa of Musa, the story of Musa. So this is an introduction which I think is very important, because it gives the story of Musa context. And it's almost impossible to fulfill the story of Musa in one sitting. So I will try my best. I will try my best to go through what the Quran says about the life of Musa, even if it's just glimpsing or taking glimpse of different parts of his message. So who was Musa? Musa came from a progeny of Abee. They were all prophets, and he came from that lineage. His name was Musa ibn Imran. His father's name was Imran ibn Yashar, ibn Qa'ith, ibn Lawi, ibn Ya'qub, the prophet Israel. This was being given by Tabari in his tafsir. This is his progeny. And Ya'qub goes on to Ibrahim and so forth. Now, the background of the story of Musa alayhi salam is that Fir'aun, who was the ruler at that time, we have to remember before we talk about Fir'aun, I mean, it's too difficult to talk about Fir'aun in one session. Again, that would probably need a lecture in itself, but it's sufficient for us to know that some of the Salaf in Tafsir said, it's as if nothing ever has been good said about Fir'aun ever. Nobody ever said anything good about Fir'aun. Nothing. I mean, you find somebody who's evil, and you find somebody who's an oppressor, a tyrant, somebody who you really don't like, but the justice in you will say, okay, well, at least he's good at this, or at least we can give him credit for this. Some of the ulama of the tafsir have said there's nothing being said good about Fir'aun ever. This is the level of tyranny, and this is the level of arrogance and oppression and evilness that Musa was being injected into. This is what the society that I was in. So Fir'aun, this man, whose name was Al-Walid ibn Mus'ab, saw a dream, and he saw a dream that from Palestine a fire was coming to Egypt. He was established in Egypt, and it was coming from Jerusalem, and the fire is gonna overtake his nation. So he was worried. So he called his governors and he said, "What do you think this means?" And they said, they interpreted the dream, maybe somebody's gonna come from that direction and overtake your government. So at that time, as we know, Bani Israel, the children of Ya'qub alayhi salam, were enslaved by Fir'aun. They were the laborers, the bottom, I don't want to call it working class, but they were enslaved. They were even worse than that. They had no rights, they were oppressed. They built Egypt and made Fir'aun into a superpower. And they said that there's going to be someone from this Bani Israel that's going to come and overtake you. So now he's in a dilemma. If he gets rid of Bani Israel, there's no laborers. His empire will collapse. Similar to the situation we have here. So what the government, are they in the dilemma about that? Do we leave? Do we stay? What's going to happen to our workforce and employment? This is what Fir'aun had at that time also. So they said, look, what we'll do is we'll alternate. 1 year we'll let the boys live, and the other year we'll kill the boys. The women, they're not going to do it. The power is obviously going to come from a man who's going to create an army, because at that time women were not known to be leaders. So what they did is they did that for that reason. They said, okay, 1 year we'll have children will come, so we'll have a workforce in the future, and then the other year we'll kill the people. Harun was born in the year where they were allowed to live. And then when the cycle came, Musa was born. So now, as you can imagine, his mother was extremely worried. She's pregnant. She's obviously got attachment to this child in her belly. And they've got governors, they've got guards, and they've got even midwives in society keeping an eye on women. This is how it became. It became enforced. So she was worried. She was stressed out. It was a military state. There were curfews. So she was worried. How is it possible for me to deliver this child? Allah says in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ مَنَنَّا عَلَيْكَ مَرَّةٌ أُخْرَى. We have given you many blessings, but one of them was when we told your mother, put him in a basket and put him in the sea and he will float. And we will protect him, don't worry. And she thought, okay, I can't do this. If I put a newborn child into a basket and it will take it away, the river, the stream, the Nile will take it away, what's going to happen? But she kept having this level of ilham. The scholars have ilham, this intuition where you feel that this is divine. It's not revelation. This is a point that we have to take note of here as well. That it is possible that Allah inclines you to do what is right. Doesn't mean you're a prophet, doesn't mean you're getting revelation. But you get that urge. And if you're trying to do the right thing, Allah will guide you. And this is something that we've seen, and I think anyone, all of us can relate to this. A person may be inside of Islam or outside of Islam, and they genuinely want guidance, Allah will give it to you. If you show that level of sincerity from yourself. And another point here we learn is that she doesn't know he's a Nabi, but it's her child. And she's been tested. And she has to put him into this basket and the Nile will take him away. That every single one of us have issues in our lives. Wealth, health, children, relationships, whatever it is. But if you go back to Allah and you try to do the right thing and you have sabr with what Allah is telling you to do, Allah will guide you and He will help you. So she was extremely stressed out, but she did it. What happened is that the basket landed at the house of Fir'aun. And the guards picked him up and said, this is a boy, newborn boy, we should kill him. And Asiya bint Muzahim, the wife of Fir'aun, said, stop. This is immoral. It's not merciful. It's a little child. Stop, you can't do this in front of me. And she pleaded to Fir'aun. She knew Fir'aun was stubborn, but she said, look, maybe we can benefit from this child. Maybe there's some kind of goodness in it. And they were trying to conceive, they couldn't conceive either. As some of the Mufassirun have said. So maybe we can adopt him as well. And there's a fact also from this that the ulama have said that whenever somebody saw Musa as a young child, they immediately fell in love with him. His appearance, his connection that Allah gave. وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِنِّي. That's what Allah says in Surah At-Tawheed. We have given you a level of connection with people. So when she saw him, she immediately fell in love with him as a little child, and she said, no, we must keep it. Fir'aun eventually accepted, and Musa a.s. grew up in this house of government, house of superpower. But that same superpower were fighting his own people. And it was well known that he was from Bani Israel, to the extent that it's been narrated by some of the Salaf Mufassirun, is that he used to go back to his house, to his mum, and this shows that, relief will come after hardship. He went back to her. And the relationship was still there established. And he used to play with Harun. So it became well known that Musa a.s. was from Bani Israel. And he grew up in this house, but he received the level of support and education not from those who were enslaved. So this is a very, unseen, unprecedented situation where you've got somebody who should be a slave, but he's not a slave. And he could be an heir to a throne from the enslaved community. So he grew up, and Allah describes his upbringing as being protected and supported with good upbringing, with education, and being protected from misguidances and evil and lewd deeds. Allah says, وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِنِّي وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَىٰ عَيْنِي. I protected you with my protection, Allah said, from a very early age. And then Allah talks about Musa a.s. in Surah Qasas, وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ وَاسْتَوَى آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. That if you want your youth to have a good upbringing, there is a strong indication of how Musa was brought up. Allah describes him as being sincere, somebody who wants to do the right thing. وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. He wanted to do the right thing. He believed in Allah, he never fell into shirk, he always wanted to do the right thing. So how did Allah repay him? Allah gave him the upbringing, even though he's in the house of Fir'aun. أَتَيْنَا حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا. Allah gave him knowledge, righteous actions, hikmah, wisdom, because he wanted to do the right thing. So now arguably we're in a society where, again, lewdness and again, a lot of sins and corruption are being forced into our pockets, into our faces. We are surrounded by it. But it's not like Musa was any different. He was in the household of corruption. One of the most stubborn and arrogant people that ever lived. But besides that, Allah gave him the protection. How? By going back to try to do the right thing. And this is something that we need to nurture in our children from a very early age. We can't tell our children, sit and recite the Quran, because the attention span of a 2-year-old, 5-year-old, a 10-year-old is not the same as a 30-year-old. But the principle has to be established. The principle is that we have been created by Allah. We have been sent here to do righteous deeds, not to be oppressive to other people. Always to follow the right thing. And the only way you can follow the right thing is by having an objective manual. Following that objective manual, you will be saved. If you are saved in the dunya and you always try to do the right thing, Allah will guide you until you enter His Jannah. This is the principle that we need to establish in our children. It will vary according to their level of age, their level of capability, their level of comprehension. But this is what happened to Musa. He grew up, and like we said, he had a strong relationship with Bani Israel still. And one day, in a well-known story, incident, he saw one of the gods oppressing somebody from Bani Israel. So he intervened, and he tried to stop it. It didn't work out, and he ended up punching the god out of self-defense because he was trying to oppress him. His punch was so strong, the god passed away. He instantly died. Now, it became a scandal. Nobody knew who the murderer was. But then the next day, or some period after, the same man from Bani Israel was in a complication again with another god. And he said, "Come and help me again, like you helped me last time." So Musa grabbed him. He said, "You are the troublemaker. I know it's you now that has initiated this. Twice in a row, you're getting into trouble. Initially, I thought you were being oppressed." So he was trying to do the right thing, but it became apparent that he was an oppressor himself. He was a criminal himself. So then he blurted it out. He said, "Do you want to kill? Leave me alone. Don't, abuse me or insult me or don't say anything to me. Leave me alone. Do you want to kill me like you killed that man yesterday?" And then it became widespread. Everybody knew that Musa was the killer. So now, what did he have to do? He had to flee. He had to flee Egypt. And he fled. And he got to a place called Madian. And when he got to this place called Madian, he rested. He thought, now this is a different region outside of Fir'aun's jurisdiction. Hopefully he will not know where I am. He will not come and catch me. So he rested against a tree and he supplicated to Allah. And he said, "Oh Allah, open the way for me." And as soon as he made this dua, the ayah says, "Fajaa." In the Arabic language, if you have fa, it's as if there's a cause and a reaction, or cause and effect. It's connected. So as soon as he made the dua, Allah answered it. These two women came and he saw them and they were trying to get water from a well. But all the other shepherds were there with their animals and they couldn't get in. They were stronger. So Musa asked them, "Why are you standing behind?" And she said, and both of them said that we've got a father, he's too ill and he's too old to come get water for himself, so we need to get water for him. But we can only go once the men have cleared. It's a narration where Musa alayhi salam saw another well which was covered. And he went to the other well and he removed the covering so that they can have a well for themselves, just for the women. Some of the ulama said it took 40 men to place that stone, that covering, in the well, on top of the well in the first place. So the women were marveled. So they went back and told their father, "We have seen this man, he's extremely pious, he's extremely considerate, and we think we should marry him because he is somebody who's definitely a keeper. We need to keep this man. He's strong, and he's been described in Surah Qasas as Qawiyul Amin. He is strong and able, but also at the same time he's responsible. He's going to make the perfect husband." So the father called him, and his name was Shu'aib. And he said, "I know you have come from this." He told him the story of Fir'aun. He goes, "I know you've come from this far land. You are safe now, don't worry. Your secret is safe with us also. I want to marry these two daughters of mine to you. I know you have no money, but your dowry to them is that you serve us for 8 to 10 years. You can choose." So he agreed, and that was the dowry. Now, ulama have said that he fulfilled the 10 years because of his nobility, his piety. He was going to do what's better. And throughout this period, he continued to be able and responsible. After the 10 years, he's got family with these 2 women, and he decides that he wants to go back to visit his mother and his brother and his family that he left in Egypt. It's been a long time, 10 years, maybe Pharaoh's forgotten about me. So let me go and visit them. So he's heading back and he passes the Mount Tur, which is known as Sinai. And it says in Surah Taha that as he was passing by, he saw a fire, what he thought to be a fire, and he had a stick. Inni anastu nar. I see some fire. And the ulama said it was winter as well. Some of the ulama said it was winter, so he needed warming up. So he went to that bush where the fire was. But it wasn't fire, it was the light of Allah. And the ulama said the light was so strong, it looked like it was fire. And the other ulama added that angels were surrounding this bush. It was illuminating. So he heard a voice and he said, Inni ana rabbuk, I am your Lord. Innaka bil wadi al-muqaddas tuwa. You are in a noble valley. And I have chosen you, wa akhtartuka fastami' lima yuha. I have chosen you, so listen what I'm going to say to you. Innani ana Allah. I am Allah. La ilaha illa ana. This is the message. There is no God worthy of worship Allah. Fa'budni wa aqim as-salata li dhikri. Worship me and establish the salah so that you can worship me in the most perfect of way. The hour is going to come, the last day, and the people need to be taught the message of Tawheed. But before Allah commanded him, He said, وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا Musa? What is that in your right hand? He said, قَالَ هِيَ عَصَاي. This is my stick. He said, my stick. Now, there's a benefit that I got from one of the mashayikh, is that he said asai. He said, it's my stick. Why did he say it's a stick? If it's a stick, it's just any stick. But the fact that he's taken possession of it shows you that he's got an attachment to it. He asai. And he continues. He says, أَتَوَكَّوْ عَلَيْهَا وَأَهُشُّ بِهَا عَلَى غَنَمِي. I rest on it. I use it as a shepherd, I use it to rear my animals. I have various uses for it. The point here is he's talking about the stick, and he wants to describe it to Allah. If you love something, you're not just going to say, this is my phone, khalas. It features are this, it's got this, the battery power, it's got these apps. He was bragging about it. And he's talking to Allah because he's saying that, oh Allah, this is what I do with this stick to show you I am responsible, to show you that I love you, to show you that I want to get closer to you. Now the point here is that we can draw this, and if you ask yourself about your own possessions, what connection do you have with your possessions? If you say to somebody, what is that in your hand? He says, it's a phone. You can clearly see that he's not attached. If he says, it's my phone, and then he starts talking about it, or this is my jacket, my new nice designer jacket, or my new house or car, it's showing you his level of relationship with that possession. But it also shows you his connection to Allah through that possession. So it's something that we need to contemplate on. So Allah commands him to throw the stick on the floor, and this is going to be a sign to show you that it is Allah that he is speaking to. And it becomes a snake. Hayyatun tas'a, a small snake. This is very important because the Arabic here says hayy. In another ayah, when he throws it again in front of Musa, it becomes a thu'ban. And we'll see what a thu'ban is. It becomes a hayya. And then Allah commands him to pick that hayya up. Go to the snake and pick it up. Go pick up a snake. He was obviously afraid. Allah said, La takhaf, don't be scared, go pick it up. So he picked it up. So the benefit that some of the ulama have said that one of the biggest signs that any Nabi has been given is giving life to something which is inanimate. Giving life to something which is inanimate. Story of Ibrahim. Allah told him to cut up the birds, place them on different mountains, and they became life again. Isa, given life to the deaf. Musa, the Prophet ﷺ, has been reported by the companions, he had stones in his hands and they were making tasbih, subhanAllah, and they've had it. The trees, bowed to the Prophet ﷺ. There are different narrations of different incidents. And Musa ﷺ here was the stick. Something inanimate became animate, and then vice versa. So now he has to go back to Fir'aun. And now he's been entrusted with this message. But before, Allah says, اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. But before he accepts the message, he makes dua. The well-known dua. رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي. Oh Allah, open my heart. Make this easy for me. وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي. Make it easy for me. وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي. He has a stutter on his tongue. Make that go away so that they can understand what I'm saying. And it continues. But at the end of his dua, and this is something that we need to pay attention to as well, when we're asking Allah, why are you asking Allah for what you are asking for? Look what Musa says. He says, كَيْ نُسَبِّهُكَ كَثِيرًا. I'm asking you for these things so that I can make worship of you, Allah. I can remember you, Allah. I can glorify your mention, Allah. كَيْ نُسَبِّهُكَ كَثِيرًا وَنَذْكُرَكَ كَثِيرًا. So I can remember you much, Allah. I'm not asking you so that I can have my heart opened up, my affairs made easy, given me wealth, given me health, given me anything, except so that I can return these favors back to you, Ya Allah. So we all need to be thankful, and we also need to think about what we're asking for and why we're asking for it. So now he has to go back to Fir'aun. He goes back to his city, he visits his family. He sees Harun. He tells Harun what happened to him. Harun immediately accepts, and he said, yes, let's go to Fir'aun. Harun was also in Misr, and he accepts the message. So he goes, let's go to Fir'aun. So they go to Fir'aun, and they start telling Fir'aun about the message. Fir'aun, as arrogant as he is, he says, who is your Lord? Who is this Rabbul Alameen that you're calling me to? Musa said, قَالَ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِن كُنتُم مُوقِنِينَ. He's the one who's created you. You haven't created yourself. So then Fir'aun said, look at this man. قَالَ لِمَنْ حَوْلَهُ أَلَا تَسْتَمِعُونَ. Look at what he's saying. Can you not hear what he's saying? Musa kept the argument to the point. This is something that we all need to learn from. The argument, keep it to the point, and keep it to Tawheed. Fir'aun started to assassinate his character. Look at him, he's foolish, he doesn't know how to speak properly. He grew up in my house. I'm the one who educated him. Musa carried on. قَالَ رَبُّكُمْ وَرَبُّ آبَائِكُمْ الْأَوَّلِينَ. He's the one who created you, and he's created the ones before you. So how did you get here if you are not the creator? There's a chain. قَالَ إِنَّ رَسُولُكُمْ الَّذِي أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْكُمْ لَمَجْنُونَ. This guy's crazy. This guy is saying to be a messenger, and that there's a Lord besides me, he is crazy. لَمَجْنُونَ. What did Musa say? قَالَ رَبُّ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا. He is the Lord of the east and the west. He makes the sun come up here and go down there. And anything between. إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. If you have sense, if you ponder, you don't do it. There has to be something greater than you that does it. What does he say? قَالَ إِنْ اتَّخَذْتَ إِلَهًا غَيْرِي. He's lost the argument. So now he goes, if you take a Lord besides me, لَأَجْعَلَنَّكَ مِنَ الْمَسْجُونِينَ. I will imprison you. Physical retribution. قَالَ أَوَلَوْ جِئْتُكَ بِشَيْءٍ مُبِينٍ. What if I brought you a proof, Ya Fir'aun? قَالَ فَأْتِ بِهِ إِن كُنْتَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ. So it gives you a proof. If you're truthful, it gives you proof. Musa threw the stick, فَأَلْقَاهَا فَإِذَا هِيَ ثُعْبَانٌ مُبِينٌ. It became a big snake, serpent. The mouth was so wide, it could swallow Fir'aun in one go. And it went up to Fir'aun face to face. And he could see it. A stick became a serpent. And then Allah says he took out his hand and he was illuminating. And there were different signs that he gave to him. And then Fir'aun said, this guy is a magician. He's not a messenger. His magic is very strong. Let's call a meeting with all the magicians. So they called a meeting with all the magicians. The next day, they were all there. So Musa alayhi salam said, you throw your sticks first. And this was something which was state of the art then, to make a stick appear to be a snake. That was the high-tech technology at that time. So this is what they did. They threw their sticks down, they all became small serpents. Musa threw his down, and it gobbled up all the other ones, and he went up to Fir'aun again. And this is when the magicians, they knew that this was from Allah. There's no way that this is from sihr or something that he has made of himself. So what they did is they accepted the message of Musa alayhi salam straight away, and they fell down into prostration. They all fell down into prostration. And Fir'aun said that, do you believe in this sihr? Do you believe in this messenger before I give you permission? They said, do what you want with us. It doesn't matter. Do what you want with us. We believe in this is from Rabbil Alameen. Some of the ulama said that when Fir'aun was punishing or trying to threaten them for punishment, Jannah, their places in Jannah was made in front of them. And this is what made them strong. So the Fir'aun crucified them, cut their hands off from and their feet off, and he crucified them, but the Jannah was in front of them. That made them strong. It made them steadfast. So you could do whatever you want for us. You are only going to punish us for a limited period of time. We know this is from Rabbul Alameen, and our end is in Jannah. So after losing this battle, this event, Musa clearly came out the winner. His minister said that the only way you can get rid of him is if you kill him. This is the only way. You have to assassinate this man. But then what he did is he said, no, I'm not going to kill him. He started creating anti-Musa propaganda. He used the newspapers of those time, he used the media channels of that time to create anti-Musa propaganda. People were listening, some people were not listening. Obviously Bani Israel listened. There were people from not Bani Israel, the elite, who were actually listening, and they actually accepted the call, but they couldn't come out and say it. And then Allah decreed that there was going to be a famine. And Fir'aun blamed the famine on Musa. They say he's a bad omen in our society. Then Allah decreed that the famine went away, and he said, this is because of my glory. I am your Lord. I am the one who brought this level of famine to go away. I'm the one who brought the crops back in the harvest. And this was a clear sign for people at that time in society also, that he is saying the truth. Nobody can control the dominion except Allah, especially not a man. So then Allah gave Musa and his people signs. Tufan, Jarad, Dam, the well-known biblical series of signs. He gave him a storm, gave him rivers of blood, locusts, lice. It rained frogs to the extent that frogs were everywhere. These were signs for Musa, for Fir'aun to come back, because he knew that this was from Musa and his Lord. He knew that these were signs, because this is, again, showing him that dominion only belongs to Allah, so worship him. Then he got to a stage where Fir'aun thought he's had enough. Now the ulama differed. What was that turning point? What was that final straw on the camel's back? Some of them said that Allah made the salah wajib upon Musa and his ummah. Allah said, وَاجْعَلْ بُيُوتَكُمْ قِبْلًا وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ. Allah made the salah a pillar. So Fir'aun said, this is it. You're praying salah in your houses to other than me, this is it. I'm going to take you out, I'm going to take your nation out. Others said that it's because Musa made dua. There's a piece in the Quran, Surah Yunus, where Musa said, رَبَّنَا أَتْمِسْ عَلَى أَمْوَالِهِمْ. Oh Allah, take their power away from them. They are oppressive. Take it away from them. They're only using this power to oppress your slaves. وَاشْتُدْ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ. Make their hearts restricted, because they are in a state of negligence and they are enjoying their level of negligence in you, Ya Allah. Because they're not going to believe in you, Allah. So he made dua. And some of the ulama said it was for this reason and for that reason. The point is, they fled. Allah commanded them to flee towards the east, towards the Red Sea. Fir'aun found out, he chased them. And he said, no, that's it, I'm going to kill them. Now, we have to remember at this stage as well that Fir'aun, this wasn't the first time that he wanted to kill him. Fir'aun always wanted to kill Musa. When he met Musa, it was Musa who was born in the year where boys were not supposed to be alive, so let's kill him. There's another narration when he was a little child, 2-3 years old. He went into Fir'aun's lap, because he was his foster parent, and he pulled his beard. Musa pulled Fir'aun's beard, and he took some clutches of hair. Fir'aun, Rabbul Alameen, thinking as he was, became angry. How does this child have the nerve to do something like this? I'm going to kill this child. Again, Asya protect. It's an innocent child, how can you do this? But she couldn't do it in that way. She said, he's only a little child, he doesn't know what he's doing. She was a mother figure for Musa, but also a moral figure. She said, look, put a pile of hot coal here, they used to use it for incense, and put some dates here. Let's see which way he goes. And Allah decreed that he went towards the coal. The reason why is we're trying to decipher, does he actually know what he's doing or not? If he knows what he's doing, he's going to go get the dates, he's going to eat it. He went to the coal and he picked the coal up and he burnt some of his hand and he put it in his tongue, thinking it to be food, and that's how he got his lisp. The point here is, it wasn't the first time he wanted to kill him. He wanted to kill him again for killing the God. He wanted to kill him again when he said that he was a messenger of Allah. And now he wants to kill him again because they are worshipping other than him. It wasn't the first time. And again, like I said, he was an evil man. So they went to the sea. Now Musa has got the Red Sea in front of him and Pharaoh behind him. It's certain death. They can't go this way, they'll drown. Can't go that way, they will get killed. What did he say? And this is another sign for us all. All of us have problems, health, wealth, like we said before. But we don't give up. The believer, he is certain that Allah is going to help him. If you continue to do the right thing, Allah will help you. He will open the door. He said, Kalla. The people with him, they say, Khas, this is it. We've had a good time. We believe in you, Musa, but this is it. It's finished. Musa didn't say that. Musa said, Kalla inna Rabbi ma'i sayahdeen. Allah is with me. He will open the way. So what happened? فَأَوْحِينَا إِلَى مُوسَى أَنْ أَضْرِبْ بِأَسَاقِ الْبَحْرِ. So Allah told Musa, hit your stick into the sea. Now look at the sign that was given to Musa and his level of sternness and his level of firm conviction. Not only did it benefit him, but it benefited all the tribes. The ulama have said that the sea was split into 12 different tracks, each one for each tribe. It wasn't that there was one way, because Musa was the only one who had firm yaqeen, firm certainty. His level of certainty affected those people he was responsible for. Pay attention to that, fathers and brothers and people who are guardians over others. Your level of iman and yaqeen and your righteous deeds and connection to Allah will benefit those people around you. They went through. Musa supplicated, Ya Allah, put the sea back so Fir'aun can't chase us. Allah said, وَاتْرُكَ الْبَحْرَ رَهْوَى. Leave it open. So even though this sign is in front of him, mountains of the sea, of water have made paths for people to get through. This is a clear miracle in front of Fir'aun's eye. He's still chasing Musa to kill him. After all of these signs, all of this negligence, all of this arrogance, all of this stubbornness is still in this man. But Allah says, leave it. Leave him, let him come follow you. So he's actually in the Red Sea now. And Musa and his people are running faster. So then Allah says, what's required? Leave the sea. And then the sea enclosed on top of him. And Jibreel, out of fear that the mercy of Allah would even reach this man, this is how merciful your Lord is. Nobody ever said anything good about him. But still, Jibreel, the closest angel to Allah, feared that Allah will still have mercy on him. Because he says, I believe in the Lord of Bani Israel. He didn't even say, La ilaha illallah. I believe in their Lord. That's what he said. When he's facing death. Jibreel got some mud and threw it in his face so he couldn't say the Shahada. Now the ulama have said that this isn't a sign that Jibreel was being stern and he doesn't want guidance for us. Of course, he is the one who is entrusted to bring the guidance to us. This is his very role. He wants us to be guided. But the ulama have said that A, because he feared the mercy of Allah, would reach a man that doesn't deserve the mercy of Allah. But B, also, the ulama have also said that it is agreed that when you're on your deathbed, it's too late for you to turn around and say, now I believe. So it would have been accepted from him anyway. This is the Pharaonic stage that has left, and I know I have exceeded probably the time, but I'll quickly go through the next stage. And this is the stage of Hijrah now. This is the stage where they have moved on to Jerusalem. And this is where this ummah can draw a lot of parallels with the ummah of Musa. The ulama have said, why has this area been specified for the Anbiya? If you look at all the Anbiya, they came in this Middle Eastern region. And this is the region that where we have a lot of instability. And arguably, we're already in World War III. Arguably, we're already in World War III because of this region. Ibn Taymiyyah said that this is the best location, this is the most blessed location. Firstly, this location is the most blessed with Allah. Also, it's the best location for the da'wah to prosper. You can move outwards. If it's in the west, it's difficult. If it's in the east, it's difficult. This is the area, geographically, which is the best location. But also, is the location throughout time that because it's blessed, and this is where the Anbiya have always come, the lineage for these people always goes back to the prophets. Therefore, this area has always been an accepting area of the truth. It's always been an accepting area of the truth. And if you look at the tyranny that comes into the Middle East, present and past, it's always been tyranny that's coming in from outside, not because of there's extremism within. This is the first point. The second thing is that after the migration, this is when the dunya became open for them. And this is when the fitna started occurring within the fitna of the ummah of Musa. Women, wealth, power, all of this. And another thing which happened a lot is that their level of disobedience and arrogance made life difficult for them. They became disunited. They left their book. They left the practice of their messenger. They left worshipping Allah because now Allah saved them. They used to be enslaved, so they wanted to worship. They wanted to have an identity because they were forced to. But now, when it's become more liberal, you can do what you want, they left it when they had the choice. So one of the first things they said when they made hijrah, they saw people worshipping idols. So they said to Musa, why don't we have an idol like they've got idols? That can be our identity. Musa said, what have I been saying to you all this time? I've been telling you to worship Allah alone, and as soon as Allah saved you from Fir'aun, you've just seen the sea, you've seen all these signs, now you're telling me to make an idol when He doesn't have the power to do that? The next command that came to them, Allah said to them, go and liberate Palestine. Take an army and go and liberate Palestine. And they said, no, we're not going to fight. There are people there much stronger than us. You, Musa, and your Lord, you to go fight. Surah Ma'idah. For this reason, this is quite important, for this reason Allah made that area in Palestine haram for Bani Israel for 40 years. So those people, the Orthodox Jews until today admit this, that this region has been made prohibited for them in their Sharia. And it was only afterwards that it became liberated. So they were wandering the land as Allah decreed for 40 years. Allah gave them, continued to give them manna and salwa. And I came to a stage where Musa said, oh Allah, I want to see you. So he's gone and he worships Allah for 40 days. While he's gone, what does Ummah do? With the gold that they captured from the Red Sea, from Fir'aun, etc., they made a calf. And there was a man called Samiri who saw Jibreel's horse when he was flinging the dirt into Fir'aun's hand. He saw this happening as a miracle. And the dust that the horse of Jibreel dug up, he grabbed that dust and he took it with him. When they made this gold calf, he threw the dust inside. When he threw the dust inside, it started making a noise. And Samiri said, look, this is a miracle, this is your Lord. Worship this calf. Musa's gone, he doesn't know who his Lord is. This is your Lord. This is this man called Samiri said. So when Musa came back, he said, what are you doing? You're worshipping an idol? Rebuked. Samiri got the golden calf and threw it into the sea. We don't want Fir'aun's gold. We don't want this idol. It's shirk. But before that, Allah told Musa that this is what your people are doing. And Allah had given Musa tablets. And some of the narrations say that Musa knew that his people, because Allah had already informed him that they were worshipping this golden calf. So he's hastening back to his people. And he's angry. But when he actually saw it, he had the tablets and he threw them on the ground. What happened? Some of the tablets got broken. What happened? Hidayah was removed from them because of their disobedience. Even before it came to them. Even before it came to them. The tablets got broken, the message was broken. So then Musa said, you need to make tawbah to Allah. You need to make tawbah to Allah. So Musa chose 70 men. Allah said that the capital punishment for you now is you have to choose 70 men of your most righteous who didn't do shirk, to afflict the capital punishment on those people who initiated this shirk. And this was what happened. This was the event of the calf. Then another event happened where Musa said, I need to see you again. He supplicated to Allah, I want to see you again. So he went to see Allah. And Allah said, take with you 70 men. Take with you 70 men. The ulama said that he chose the 70 best men, those people who are connected in their lineage to the prophets as well, the most pious of them. And they bathed and they wore the best of their clothes and they went to see Allah. Musa was there with Allah. And these 70 men are there as well. Musa is closer and he's worshipping Allah, making sujood, and they could hear some of the narration saying that Allah is talking to them. They could hear Allah talking. And he's making sujood and praising Allah. Musa came back with a new set of tablets. These are your new set of rules. Accept them. To these 70 men. What did these 70 men say? They said, we're not going to accept them until we see Allah. We heard you talking, we want to see Allah. As soon as they said that, a lightning came and it completely made them unconscious. It's oppressive. It's only for Allah to see, to choose who He wants to see. And it's only for Allah to see a Nabi. These 70 men, they're not on that status of Musa. It's an oppressive question. When they became conscious again, Musa said, here is the tablets of Allah. Accept them. So now they know that they can't see Allah. They said, let us see the tablets and see if it's easy or not. If it's easy, we'll accept it. If it's not easy, then you have to go back to Allah and tell Him to make it easy for us. This is what those 70 men said. So Musa said it again. Accept it. Allah caused an angel to come and he lifted the mountain that they were nearby over their heads and said, accept the message or this will be it for you. So they accepted it. And Musa at this time was supplicating to Allah, oh Allah, don't take us away because of the act of some of the foolish amongst us. Forgive us, because if you take us out, there'll be no one there to worship you, Allah. They accepted the message, the mountain was put back where it was, and they accepted it. And then throughout the story of Musa until he passed away, there were different incidents. I mean, I don't think we've got time for them. One of the well-known incidents is the story of the cow, where there was a family feud. Two cousins got married, and the other cousin was left. These two cousins were extremely rich, and because they got married, they became even more richer. The third cousin was extremely poor, and he was an orphan, but he had this precious cow, a yellow cow, that didn't use to till the earth, or it wasn't used for any of those purposes. They said, let's kill this child, our cousin, so we can inherit this cow and become even more rich. So that's what they did. So then Allah told them, go sacrifice a cow so we can find out who the murderer is. And they said, Musa, a cow has been killed. And you're telling us, a person has been killed, and you're telling us to go sacrifice a cow? Is this your murder investigation? He says, A'udhu billahi min jahilin. Allah has told me to do this. I seek refuge in your ignorance. Do it. They said, no. Then they started playing with him. I said, what gender is it? What action does it do? What color is it? Until it became even more difficult because of their stubbornness in trying to follow the Sharia. Allah made it even more difficult. And this again, like I said before, is a lesson for us all. The Quran is complete, yes, but your hidayah that you get from this Quran could be taken away from you, just how things got taken away from them. Things made it difficult for them because they didn't follow what was easy for them initially. In this story we see that women became a fitna for them, because the woman apparently, on the narrations, conspired with the other cousin to kill the other cousin. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ said, that one of the biggest fitnas for Bani Israel were women. Another fitna that occurred was the fitna of knowledge. Knowledge became power, and even talab al-ilm as well. the correct level of knowledge, of seeking knowledge of the religion. And there's the story that you can extract benefits between Musa and Khidr. Wealth became a fitna. There was a man called Qarun. And Qarun was said to be one of the most richest, or the richest man in history. He owned almost everything. Ibn Kathir says that he used to be actually a pious man. He was actually related to Musa. But when they made the hijrah and things became easy for them, he became wealthy. Then what he did is he left practicing. I don't need to practice religion, I've got what I want. And then he became arrogant. He said, I had lots of good deeds before. I'm related to you, Musa, and I'm older than you. I've done a lot of good deeds and I've got a lot of sadaqah, and Allah's given me all this wealth. I don't need to follow you anymore, Musa. I don't need to follow your religion. And he was destroyed. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the earth continues to swallow him up until this very moment. The earth is still swallowing him up until the last day. These are the stories and these are the seerah. Like I said, I don't think we can get all the benefits from the life of Musa in such a short sitting, 1 hour. There are so many lessons that we can take from each separate event and incident. But I'd just like to close with what the ulama usually do, is when they finish talking about a biography about a person, they conclude with his virtues and they conclude with his description. So Musa alayhi salam, one of the biggest virtues is that he was an imam of Tawheed, as we've seen. He was a man who was completely sincere to us as a ummah, to his own ummah. And he was a sincere individual even in his dunya aspects. He was sincere to his sister, the 2 sisters that he got married to. He was pious. He wanted to help the man who was being oppressed against the God. And he was extremely humble, as we learn in the story between him and Khidr. How did he die? Musa alayhi salam was said to have died 2 years after Harun. Harun was his older brother. And the angel of death came to him. And he thought the angel of death was going to oppress him. So out of self-defense, he punched the angel of death. And the narration says the eye of the angel of death fell out. He punched the angel of death. And the eye of the angel of death fell out. The angel of death went back to Allah and he complained. He said, you sent me to take the soul of this man and he punched me. I can't do it. Allah said, send him back and let him wipe his hand over an ox. An ox. And the amount of hairs that his hands wipe over, that's the prescribed time for him to live. This is Sahih Bukhari. So Musa knew now that the end was near. And as he was passing, he supplicated to Allah. He said, oh Allah, this land that we were supposed to live in Palestine is made haram for us. We can't enter it. Make me as close as possible to live or die in that land. Make me die in a sacred land. The Prophet ﷺ in the night of Mi'raj passed over the grave of Musa and he said, I can see the red dunes that he is buried under, and he is standing right now praying and supplicating in his grave to Allah. So he died in the state of wandering. And as for his sifat, the way he looked, it's very important to us, before we describe him, that Allah has chosen the prophets, the best of mankind, all of them. So his description can only be the best of them. He was the best of people in Iman and in appearance. But it was from his own nation that they tried to seek fault in him. They started spreading rumors that he had leprosy, he had skin problems, etc. And one day when he was bathing in the sea, Allah commanded the rock which had his clothes to run off. The rock physically moved with his clothes. Musa was left naked. So that the people that spread this rumor could see that he was a man with utmost appearance, utmost strength, beautiful in his appearance. And this is something that we need to learn as well in having respect for the Anbiya. Not only in their appearance, but also that it could lead to a level of kufr if we try to seek fault in them, try to seek fault in their message, try to seek fault with some of the decisions that we may see as being wrong in their seerah. You know, how can the Prophet marry 9 women? Isn't that oppressive? Etc. This is what happened. Allah gave Musa a mu'jiza to prove that he is free from blame. Musa, alayhi salam, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Ra'aytu laylan asra. When I went up to the heavens, I saw a man, and his name was Musa. And he was a man who was Adam. And Adam in the Arabic language refers to a complexion which is between white and black. So he was light-skinned, but not fair, you know. He was darkish. Prophet ﷺ said, Tiwal Ja'd. He was tall and very well built, very strong. كأنه من رجال شنوءة. There's a tribe in Yemen until today, very strong and very well built. And this is how the Prophet ﷺ resembled him, so that his companions could have this understanding that this is what he looked like. This is what we have from the life of Musa. I ask Allah to forgive us if we have been shortcoming in describing the life of Musa, and if we have not been able to benefit truly from this great man. And I ask Allah that He doesn't make this our last meeting with one another. And I ask Allah to make this beneficial for us all. هذا والله أعلم وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Any questions?